Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a heart-to-heart, because what I'm about to tell you might just change the way you see your life and your relationships and even yourself. You see, we live in a world that expects us to be compassionate, patient, and kind at every turn. And that's good. Those qualities are beautiful, necessary. But hold up, there's something people forget to mention: boundaries. Yes, I'm talking about boundaries, the missing piece to the puzzle of kindness. Because without boundaries, that compassion, that kindness, it becomes a one-way street where we get run over by the expectations, demands, and needs of everyone else but ourselves. Let's not get it twisted. Kindness isn't the same thing as being a pushover. You're not here to be soft and let people walk all over you. Oh no, it's time we start standing firm, because guess what? Respect for others begins with respect for yourself. You can't give out what you don't have, baby. That's the gospel truth. So let's take a moment to understand something very important. Boundaries aren't barriers to connection. They're the very framework for healthy, meaningful relationships. Let me say that again for the people in the back. Boundaries are walls to keep people out. They're shields to protect the sacred parts of you. The parts that hold your peace, your energy, your time. The parts that keep you whole. Now listen closely, because here's where many of us trip up. When we don't set boundaries, we invite chaos into our lives. We open the door wide for people to walk in and manipulate us, drain us, and take advantage of our generosity, our patience, our spirit. They'll take from you until there's nothing left if you let them. They'll siphon your emotional, mental, spiritual, and financial resources if you aren't careful. But let me hit you with a truth bomb you cannot pour from an empty cup. You've got to fill yourself up first. The first step to being a blessing to others is learning how to protect yourself by setting and enforcing boundaries. And now I hear someone in the back saying, but wait, doesn't setting boundaries make me cold? Doesn't it distance me from people? No, baby. No, setting boundaries doesn't mean you're cold, distant, or hard-hearted. It means you're wise. It means you know exactly where you stand and what you need to thrive. When you set a boundary, you're not just creating space for yourself, you're making room for healthier relationships with others. Because here's the truth: a boundary is an act of self-love. It says, I respect myself enough to protect my peace, my time, and my energy. And when you get this right, oh, let me tell you, it's powerful. Boundaries put you in the driver's seat of your own life. You're not a passenger waiting for someone else to steer the wheel. You get to decide how far is too far. You gain the ability to say no, and listen to me, no is a complete sentence. You don't owe anyone a long explanation for why you're choosing to protect your well-being. That's not selfish, baby, that's wisdom. That's growth. And in that growth, you find your power. When you set boundaries, you are teaching people how to treat you. You're setting the standard. And here's what happens when you set that standard: people who truly respect you will treasure your presence. They won't take you for granted, because they understand that access to you is a privilege, not a right. Do you hear me? A privilege. And when that understanding is in place, you'll find that your relationships flourish. Why? Because they're healthier. Mutual respect grows where once there might have been imbalance and resentment. Now let's take this to the workplace, because some of why all are out here thinking boundaries are just for personal relationships. No, boundaries in your professional life are just as important. If you don't set limits with your boss, your colleagues, or your clients, you'll find yourself stretched too thin, doing work that isn't yours, sacrificing your quality of life. When you set boundaries at work, you're saying, I know my worth, I know my limits, and I will not compromise my mental health or personal time. Let me remind you of something important. Boundaries aren't a one and done deal. They evolve as you grow. As life changes, your boundaries will need to shift too. That's why self-awareness is so crucial. You have to regularly check in with yourself, assess what's working and what's draining you. Boundaries are living, breathing elements of your life, and they require ongoing care. Now, let's get real for a minute. Setting boundaries is not just about saying no to others, it's about saying yes to yourself. It's about affirming that you are worthy of respect, dignity, and peace. And when you do that, oh honey, watch what happens. You start to attract people who respect you just as much as you respect yourself. Your confidence rises, your sense of self-worth deepens, and your life becomes aligned with your true values. But let's be clear, compassion doesn't mean weakness. Being compassionate is vital, but if you're constantly giving without protecting yourself, you'll end up burned out, bitter, and broken. True compassion has boundaries. It's balanced. It allows you to give from a place of abundance, not depletion. It's about pouring into others while still keeping enough for yourself. And let me tell you something about self-respect. It's contagious. When you respect yourself, others will take notice. It's like you're sending out a signal, I am worthy. I won't settle for less, and guess what? People will rise to meet your standard. When they see you respecting your time, energy, and well-being, they'll start to value those things too. Now let's talk about the power of communication, because setting boundaries isn't just about drawing lines. It's about being assertive in a way that's firm but kind. Assertiveness isn't about being aggressive or harsh. It's about expressing your needs clearly and confidently. You say, I value myself and I value you too, and you know what? That kind of communication builds respect. It strengthens relationships because it's based on mutual understanding. Here's an example: a good leader doesn't just bark orders, they create an environment of respect and accountability. The same goes for relationships. Parents can set rules for their kids while still showing love. In romantic relationships, you can express your needs without stepping on your partner's feelings. It's all about balance, y'all. Boundaries help you create that balance by bringing clarity, respect, and space for growth on both sides. So, as we wrap this up, I want you to take this message to heart. Boundaries are not the end of love and kindness, they're the foundation. They allow you to stand firm in your values while still giving generously to the people and things that matter most to you. And when you set those boundaries, when you protect your peace, your energy, and your time, you will see your life transform. You'll experience deeper fulfillment, healthier relationships, and a greater sense of purpose. So don't be afraid to set those boundaries. Protect your peace, honor your worth, and embrace the power of saying no when you need to. And when you do, you'll be living a life of balance, strength, and compassion, the kind of life you were meant to live. All right, let's settle in for a conversation that we need to have. Yes, about conflict. You see, we often hear the word and instinctively want to shy away. We dodge it like it's something to fear, something that will disrupt our peace. But let me tell you something right here. Right now, avoiding conflict doesn't create peace. It only pushes the inevitable to the back burner. It lets things simmer. And honey, if you let something simmer for too long, you're going to have a mess on your hands. Avoiding it doesn't fix anything, doesn't make it go away. It just delays the explosion. And trust me, the blow up after that, wait, it's a whole lot worse. So we've got to stop thinking of conflict as the enemy. Sometimes that very confrontation is the pathway to breakthrough. That's right. I said a breakthrough. Because when you stop running and face the challenge with open heart and a ready mind, you step into the arena of growth. And let me tell you something about growth. It makes you stronger, wiser, more resilient. It transforms you from the inside out. Don't be afraid of conflict, because it's often a sign that folks just have different perspectives or needs, and that's normal. That's life. The real challenge isn't avoiding the conflict, it's what you do when it shows up. See, the goal isn't to win. It's not about who's right or wrong, or who can shout the loudest. No. The goal is to find common ground, to create understanding, and to move forward together. When you enter conflict with respect and empathy, you're planting seeds of collaboration, beloved. You're making room for solutions, not divisions. And that's where the magic happens, when folks stop battling and start building. Now, let me tell you something else about conflict that makes you stronger. Every time you resolve a disagreement with grace, every time you navigate a tough conversation with wisdom, you're growing. And not just in your mind, but in your spirit. Your communication gets sharper, your problem-solving muscles get stronger, and your resilience, baby, it gets fortified. This is where real maturity comes from. It's in the heat of these moments that we're shaped, molded, and refined. And guess what? It's not just about you. It's about everyone involved. Conflict, when handled well, is an opportunity for everybody to grow, to become better versions of themselves. Now, let me talk about transparency for a moment. Conflict, when done right, brings transparency into relationships. When you confront issues directly, you're saying, I value you enough to face this with you. I care enough to work through the tough stuff. And that kind of honesty, that builds trust. And trust, beloved, is the bedrock of any strong, lasting relationship. Without trust, what do you really have? Just an illusion. Just a surface level connection that can crumble at any moment. Real relationships are built on truth, transparency, and the willingness to handle the hard stuff together. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. I want to talk about a word that makes a lot of folks uncomfortable. No. Oh, how many of us struggle with that tiny little word? We feel guilty, like saying no makes us selfish, like we're failing the people we love. But let me tell you something, saying no. It's not just important, it's necessary. It's one of the most powerful tools you can carry with you. It's not just a refusal, it's an act of self-care, an act of self-preservation. When you say no, you are drawing a boundary, a line that protects your time, your energy, your priorities. You are making space for what really matters in your life. I get it, saying no can feel awkward, especially when you're used to being the one who always says yes. But let me remind you of this. You have the right to set boundaries. You have the right to say, this is my limit, and I will not go beyond it. Saying no isn't about being selfish, it's about being wise. It's about knowing what you can and can't handle and being honest about it. Because let me tell you, if you try to pour from an empty cup, you're not helping anybody. You can't be everything to everyone, and trying to do so will leave you drained, exhausted, and frankly, resentful. When you say no, beloved, you are taking control of your life. You're deciding what gets your energy and what doesn't. You're making room for the things that align with your values, your goals, your purpose. And here's a tip for you when you say no. Keep it simple. Don't over-explain yourself. The more you explain, the more chances you give for someone to talk you out of it. Stand firm, say no, and let that be the end of it. It's your right to protect your energy. Saying no is also about balance. When you say no without guilt, you're honoring yourself. You're saying, I matter. My well-being matters. And when you take care of yourself like that, you show up better for the people in your life. You show up more present, more engaged, and more loving because you're not operating from a place of depletion. You're giving from a place of fullness. And here's the kicker when you say no, you're not just helping yourself, you're helping others. You're giving them the clarity they need. You're being honest about what you can and cannot do. And that kind of honesty prevents disappointment down the road. You're allowing them to seek solutions that fit their needs better. You're fostering relationships built on mutual respect. Let's pivot for a second. Let's talk about strength. And I don't mean the kind of strength that just gets you through hard times. I'm talking about real strength, the kind that empowers others as you rise. True strength isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving and helping others do the same. It's about using your experiences, your lessons, and your wisdom to lift others up. When you show others how you've overcome challenges, when you share your story of resilience and perseverance, you become a light in the darkness. You become hope for someone who's struggling. And that's powerful. You see, strength is not about doing it all on your own. Real strength is about building people up as you rise. It's about calling out bad behavior, not to tear someone down, but to help them grow. It's about setting boundaries with love and clarity so that everyone can become their best selves. That's real leadership. That's the kind of strength that builds lasting, meaningful relationships and creates a life filled with purpose, joy, and fulfillment. Now, let's take a moment to reflect inward, because before you can lead others, before you can help them grow, you've got to start with yourself. You have to strengthen your inner core. If you don't know who you are, if you aren't grounded in your values, your purpose, then how can you guide others? You've got to know what drives you. You've got to be aware of your strengths and your weaknesses and be willing to do the work to overcome those limitations. Because when you are strong within, when you are clear on who you are and what you stand for, you can lead with purpose, clarity, and conviction. And, let's talk about resilience. Resilience is that thing that keeps you standing when life tries to knock you down. It's what keeps you moving forward when everything in you wants to give up. But resilience isn't something you're born with. It's something you build day by day, moment by moment. It's forged in the fire of adversity and the challenges you face and overcome. It's choosing to learn from every setback, to grow from every challenge. Resilience is the strength that allows you to not just survive, but thrive no matter what life throws your way. And confidence? Oh, honey, we've got to talk about confidence. Confidence is that quiet assurance, that belief in yourself that says, I've got this, but here's the thing, confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you develop. It grows with every challenge you overcome, with every goal you achieve. You build it step by step, victory by victory. So don't wait for confidence to show up, create it. Build it with every small success, with every moment you choose to believe in yourself. Because when you stand tall in your confidence, you are unstoppable. Purpose, beloved, is the key. Without purpose, we're just drifting lost at sea. Purpose gives you direction, focus, and meaning. It's your North Star guiding you through the storms of life. When you know your purpose, everything else falls into place. Your decisions become clearer, your path becomes more defined, and distractions lose their power over you. Purpose gives you the strength to say no to what doesn't serve you and yes to what does. And with purpose comes self-discipline, the glue that holds it all together. Self-discipline is what keeps you moving forward, even when it's hard. It's what helps you stay focused, stay committed, and stay aligned with your goals. Now let's talk about emotional regulation. Life can be overwhelming. Emotions can be overwhelming, but to thrive, to grow, you have to learn how to manage those emotions. You have to be able to feel them, process them, and then respond in a way that's aligned with who you are and what you stand for. You are the thermostat, not the thermometer. You set the temperature for how you respond to life.